Welcome to High Cheese. It's Friday, August 30th, 2024. And I watched the interview last night with Kamala. And all I can say is, this was weak. If she wants to be president, she has to put on a better performance in this. First of all, I want to know, who set this up? Who set up the seating? She looked very small there. Now, politics is a lot about optics, and Kamala looked like the smallest person in the room, where she should be portraying herself as the biggest person in the room. To our left, you had Tim Walz, who's much bigger than Kamala. And to the right, you had Dana Bash, with Kamala in the middle. But Kamala looked really, really small. And the optics were really bad. So I don't know who set this up and allowed this camera angle to take place. But the optics were really bad. And then Kamala didn't look too good. She looked a little tired. The lighting on this just didn't bring out her best. And then what we've done, we take a little deeper look into her personality. And her personality is just a little whiny, really doesn't have a good grasp of the issues, and doesn't seem to think quick on her feet. Now, Donald Trump has mentioned that, she's not a bright person. Maybe she's not. But she doesn't appear to be quick on her feet. She doesn't have a quick mind. But one thing we have to take away from this is several key issues, because through all this meandering, throughout all this borderline word salad that we saw last night, there are several key issues we have to take away from this. And the first thing is with fracking. And Kamala just flat out lied about her position on fracking. Now, a lot of us know that Kamala's come out and said, she's for fracking now. So let's go to this clip, and then we'll come back and discuss.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue,
Sure.
particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said, you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed.
And here, Kamala is flat out lying. And Dana Bash weekly comes back to her and said, well, wait a second. At a town hall meeting in 2019 in CNN, you flat out said that you will ban fracking. So what's that all about, Kamala? What made you change? Well, here's what made her change, simply that she needs Pennsylvania. If Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania, he'll win the election. So she's just going to flat out lie. And it came to the point where CNN later fact-checked her. And they said, yeah, she did say she banned fracking as a candidate for president in 2019. And then there was another, one of the CNN talking heads tweeted out that, well, I don't think Kamala's too believable on this topic. And by the way, if you live in Pennsylvania, how could you vote for her? Fracking is such an important part of your economy. It's such an important part of helping bring down inflation. Gas prices, natural gas prices, oil, reducing the price of these three items really have an effect on inflation. So anybody in Pennsylvania that's votes for this person is just not in your interests. And then when Bash weakly pushes back on her, she says, well, my values are still the same. What does that mean, values? She goes to some vague comment about her values. My values haven't changed. What does that mean? And Bash should have pushed back and said, what do you mean by this? But she didn't, because she was afraid of bringing out the word salad. Now, the second item that's important is Bidenomics. And we find out that Kamala's all in on Bidenomics. So let's go to the next clip.
You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability.
Yeah.
One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years, what we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers.
Oh, boy. She's got a lot of nerve. She's blaming Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump left a great economy that was artificially shut down by the governors in this country. And it was so strong that they had to do nothing, and these jobs would have come back naturally because of the strong economy that Donald Trump left us. But no. Bidenomics threw all this massive amount of money into the economy that was already going to come back naturally, helping to cause inflation. Remember, she was this deciding vote in two pieces of legislation that threw this massive amount of money into an economy that naturally would have come back. But she wants to blame Donald Trump. Yeah, okay. And then you had the administration cut the Keystone pipeline and then stopped oil drilling in certain pieces of land in the United States. This is Bidenomics. But she's all in for this. And her answer, what's her answer? What's the cure for inflation? We're going to have price controls. Price controls have never worked. All it does is result in more inflation or the inability of Americans to find goods. And this is a Soviet-style response. And then she mentions that she wants to put $25,000 into the hands of Americans to buy homes. And all that's going to do is just increase the price of homes. That's all it's going to do. These aren't answers. This is just going to add inflation. And she's such a copycat. She mentioned about the child tax credit. She wants to expand it. Now, many weeks ago, J.D. Vance came out and said he wants to expand the child tax credit. So what does Kamala do? She's going to copy it, just like she copied Donald Trump's no tax on tips policy. So let's go on to immigration. Let's see how Kamala answers the questions about immigration.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part
Yeah.
of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced.
So she's technically admitting she was the border czar. And you notice how she never fessed up that she failed. There's estimates that 20 million illegal migrants came into this country under her watch. And her response is, oh, there were some benefits to it. And then she says that, well, the illegal border crossings are down. Oh, yeah, compared to what? After 20 million illegal migrants have come in? And then she went on to blame Donald Trump for not supporting this bad piece of legislation that the Democrats wanted to push through regarding the border. And all this legislation would have done is essentially just codify the mess that we already have down there. And all they had to do was just keep Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. That's all they had to do. And we would not be in this problem today. And I want to go back to another clip. And Bash asks her about her wanting to decriminalize illegal border crossings. And let's go to this clip and then we'll come back and discuss.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally.
So apparently this is another flip-flop. And then she went on to say, well, I'm the only one that has prosecuted international criminals. So I've got experience prosecuting people down at the border. Well, if it's decriminalized, Kamala, you won't need your prosecutorial skills. So what is it? Do you want it decriminalized or not? So again, this appears to be another flip-flop by Kamala. But just like her fracking position, I just don't find it believable. So then Bash asks Kamala about all of her flip-flops. And let's hear her response.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
And again, what does this mean? Her values haven't changed. All she's telling us is she doesn't want to answer the question. If her values haven't changed, she wants to decriminalize the border, she wants to stop fracking, and she wants to move ahead with Soviet-style economic plans. That's all she's saying here. You know, this vague term, my values haven't changed. So with that said, I want to switch over to Tim Walz. And Tim Walz is going to answer about his stolen valor, telling people he carried weapons in war when it wasn't true. And he had a couple of other issues that he had to talk about. One was that his DUI, he had a DUI, and apparently it was misrepresented during his previous campaigns, as well as him telling people that he used in vitro fertilization to conceive one or all of his kids, when in fact he didn't. But I want to focus on the stolen valor. So let's go to this clip, and then we'll come back and discuss.
And around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war,
Yeah.
did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again,
These people. They just refuse to tell the truth. And what Walz's excuse is, I used bad grammar. It wasn't lying, it was bad grammar. And he expects us to believe this? Do they really think the American people are this dumb? Oh, it was just bad grammar. I wasn't lying. It was bad grammar. First of all, grammar has to do with the written word, not the spoken word. Not that his voters will care. But don't you find it odd that Kamala needed an emotional support man? You know, people have emotional support dogs. Well, she had to bring Walz up there as her emotional support man. And I think it's very telling for both Harris and Walz that he was there. But overall, this just was not a good interview. Harris has to do a lot more to make people to want to vote for her. And the longer this campaign goes on, more and more people are going to realize it. Once the debates come, if they even have the debates, who knows if they're going to have the debates after this. But once the debates happen, Kamala is going to be exposed. So Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Donald Trump this week. And this follows RFK Jr.'s endorsement last week. And this is really helpful. These are two Democrats that are endorsing Donald Trump. And what this does, it sends a message that, Donald Trump is just not for Republicans. He wants to bring in everybody into the fold. He wants to bring everyone into MAGA. And this is the mark of a good leader. I think someone mentioned that, and I think Trump, it may have been Trump. And they said, look, if you're successful, if you're a successful businessman, you bring people into your organization that have a different perspective than you. And this is what Donald Trump is doing. And don't be surprised if we get more Democrats on board with Trump as the days of the campaign wane on. So let me read an article here. It's from Fox Business. And the headline says, Ford walks back woke DEI policies, joining a growing list of companies. Ford says it will no longer participate in the LGBT-focused Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equity Index. And this is being led by a gentleman named Robbie Starbuck, and you can find him on YouTube. And what he does, he just scours corporate earnings, corporate reports, and other corporate documents to find out what their status is on DEI. And he's got a lot of followers. And he has targeted in the past, and successfully targeted in the past, other companies like, Tractor Supply, John Deere, Harley Davidson, Polaris, Indian Motorcycles, Lowe's, and now you can add Ford to that list. And if you ever listen to him talk, Starbuck, he's a bright guy. He goes, look, we don't have to totally shut these companies down. But if you voice your concerns, and they know and they realize that these are valid customers, you don't have to knock their revenues down by 100%. You can knock them down by 1%, 2%, and it has a dramatic effect on these companies' bottom line. And that's what they're listening to right now. So this is good news. And I'm sure this is going to continue as this whole DEI fiasco is exposed. So we shall see. And remember, Kamala is a California liberal. Actually, not a liberal, a progressive, a borderline communist. And I want to read an article here. It's from the New York Post. It says California lawmakers ripped after approving a $150,000 down payment handout to illegal immigrant homebuyers. The Democrat-controlled California legislature has passed a polarizing bill that would make the Golden State the first in the nation to offer down payment assistance to illegal immigrant homebuyers. Assembly Bill 1840, which was approved Wednesday, would grant undocumented immigrants access to the state's taxpayer-funded home loan program, which provides up to $150,000 in down payment assistance for eligible first-time homebuyers. So think about this. This is where Kamala comes from. It's not an America First state. They've got the interest of illegal migrants ahead of Americans. And this is what you're going to get if you vote for Kamala Harris. This is just totally insane. It's anti-American, no matter how you slice it and dice it. Make this available to Americans instead of non-Americans. And this is what Donald Trump is all about, America first. We're going to take care of Americans first before we start taking care of illegal migrants. So we shall see. Okay, the last story I want to talk about, and this is from the Daily Mail. And the headline says, Mark Zuckerberg admits censoring for Joe Biden in bombshell letter and whines about pressure from the White House. It says the Facebook CEO said, I'll fight against any attempts at censorship in the future. He also admitted that the company demoted stories about the Hunter Biden laptop. Zuckerberg also confirmed he would not repeat 2020's donations to nonprofits. The Meta CEO said in a letter to House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan that he'll fight back against any attempts at censorship in the future, and also admitted the company had demoted stories about the Hunter Biden laptop. Now, my question is, why is he doing this? You know, some people are saying, well, you know, he senses that Donald Trump's going to win and MAGA's going to come in, and he wants to get on the right side of MAGA. And by the way, on a sidebar, isn't it great, no matter how you feel about Elon Musk, it's really great that he bought Twitter, because all of this would be unknown unless Elon Musk released the Twitter files and showed how the Biden administration, the Harris administration, pressured Twitter to, as well as Facebook and other social platforms, to suppress free speech that didn't go along with the government. Now, here's my question to Zuckerberg. Well, what's your plan to fight this in the future? How are you going to do it? Let's see a policy. What kind of policy are you going to have to fight this in the future? Okay, and with that said, thank you very much for listening. You have a good week, and I will talk to you next Saturday.